Hey guys, it's Victoria, and today I'm going to talk about going from 2 children to 3 children. So if you don't know our story, we have now 3 children. Our son Noah, he was 5 in March. Our first daughter Alexandria, she will be 3 at the end of August. And our baby Lydia was 4 months on the 6th. She was born February 6th. So we're 4 months in now to having 3 kids, so I thought it would be a good time to come on and talk about this now that we've sort of settled into a pretty good routine and the baby has really started to settle in and be a real part of our family, and things are going really well. So it was funny, when I found out that I was pregnant with our 3rd child, the biggest reaction that we had throughout the pregnancy and even now that she's here was, oh, you're going to be so busy. And now that she's here, when people see that we have 3 kids, oh, you're a busy mom, and oh, you guys must be so busy. And I just, that reaction surprised me because all moms are busy, and I was already busy with 2, and I knew it was probably going to get busier with 3, but I just thought that was sort of a funny reaction. But it was definitely the most common response that we got, and we still get when we tell people that we have 3 kids. But for us, or for me, adding the 3rd child has been the smoothest transition for us. And I know everyone has a different experience, and this question comes up a lot on Facebook mom groups and things like that. People are asking for experiences from people who have added a 3rd child, and some people found it really, really tough, and other people found it to be an easier transition. And for us, I don't know if it's just our children in particular, the baby's sort of disposition, the age gap that we have, sort of the gender breakdown, if it's all of that together, but it has been the easiest transition. And I think the biggest reason for me is because we are sort of established in how we want to do things and how what things work for us and what has worked for us in the past, and sort of we've made the mistakes, we've learned from them, and we really had a good strategy going into having baby number 3 for things like feeding and sleeping and scheduling and all that stuff. So the transition has been really, really good. For me, the biggest transition was going from no children to 1 child, and to me this, for anyone, seems like it would be the hardest transition because it's so huge and life-altering and sudden. I just remember thinking, you know, you're going along your pregnancy and you know things are going to change, but then that baby comes and overnight it is, your entire life is different. And it's different for the rest of your life. I don't think anything that happens in your life that causes such a huge dramatic change to your everyday life forever. And I remember having a hard time with that at first. I was somebody who had a pretty active social life. I volunteered, I sang in a couple of choirs, I was out doing things a lot of the time, and you can still do a lot of that stuff when you have a baby, but it's different and it's harder. And sometimes, for me anyway, it was just easier to stay home with the baby than to go out and do social things like that. You know, I've heard people say, well, you know, babies, they're portable, you just bring them with you. And that's true to an extent, especially when they're new, like when they're newborns, then they really do sleep anywhere. But for us, as we got older, as the babies got older, a lot of times it just got easier to just stay home, and everyone was happier that way rather than taking them out and keeping them up late or trying to put them to sleep in a strange place and then move them. Or, you know, I think there's just a balance where you have to weigh the pros and cons of doing things like that. And I'm not saying to never do those things, but sometimes it does get a little bit, it's just easier to stay home sometimes. So I found that transition really hard, and I sort of went through a bit of a mourning period, I guess, where I was sort of mourning the life before children, because I did have such a active social life that changed when the baby was here, and that was hard for me. Like, I'll be honest, it was definitely hard. And you're new to everything, you know. I had a lot of experience with babies. I'm the oldest of all of my cousins on one side of the family, and every time we were with them, I always loved helping with feeding and changing and dressing. And so I had a lot of experience doing all of those things, but it's totally different when you're the one making the decisions as to when and where and how you're going to do all of those things. And I remember saying that, like, I know how to do this, but now it's up to me when to do all of these things. And you gotta really, it takes a while to get into your groove and to get your confidence as a mom. And then I think by the time baby number 3 came around, I was really secure and confident in who I am as a mom. And I really had a good approach to how I wanted to do things. And I think because of that, the baby really was, fed off of my calmness and my experience, I guess. And I really think that babies can feel when you're anxious and when you're nervous. And when it's your first baby, you're anxious and nervous a lot of the times, I think. At least I was. So I have just a few little notes about things that have gone really well and then things that have been a struggle going from 2 to 3. I remember when I was towards the end of my pregnancy, we were out at Costco, and I remember just sort of standing in the aisle and looking at the kids in the cart and Matthew pushing the cart and just saying to him, I don't know if I'm in denial or I'm, oblivious, but I feel like in a few weeks, the baby will be here and we'll be right back here at Costco. The baby will be in the cart too, and we'll just be going about our everyday business. And I thought maybe I was completely delusional and I was just trying to think positive, but it really did go that way for us. And I think because when you have 2 older kids, your life can't completely stop for the baby. You have to pick up and just sort of keep on trucking. And the baby really fit in that way. Like, she just sort of fit into the family, and we just kept on moving. Like, I was home from the hospital. She wasn't even 2 days old, I guess. And day 5, I think, we were at the hockey rink for Noah's hockey practice, and just things like that. Like, the baby just has to learn to be adaptable. And I think 3rd children, if any of you have older children, maybe you can tell me if this is true or not. I have a feeling that the 3rd child and subsequent children end up being probably more laid back and easygoing because they have to be. Like, Lydia learned very quickly that the second she starts crying, sometimes I can't get to her right away. And I think that's actually a good thing, because she's learned that, she has to be patient, and sometimes she can't get everything she wants the second she wants it. Whereas a first child, you're right there. They're everything. That's all you have to really worry about. So I think in that sense, she will probably grow up to be sort of a calmer, easygoing baby. And so I guess I'll just look at my little list here. One of the biggest challenges for me is keeping up with the older children. And that was a challenge when I had my second as well, was trying to keep up with Noah. And, they're 5 and almost 3. They're very active. They are starting to play much better together. Before, it was sort of like whenever they did interact, it was like he was getting on her nerves or pushing her buttons, and she was taking his toys, and it was just chaos. But now they're starting to like play house together and play with some of Noah's like Batman play sets and things like that a little bit more. So that's really good. But they can be demanding, and they want me to play with them a lot of the time. Noah just finished preschool, so he was in preschool 2 afternoons a week. So now he's home full time. So they're all here with me all summer before he starts school. So just trying to keep up with the older 2, and especially at those early days when you're so tired and you just don't really have the energy to constantly be playing with the older 2. And I did do quite a bit of prep before the baby came home and made like backpacks for them, and I had a bin with a bunch of stuff, but they still want you to play with them. So there's not a lot of downtime when it's your 3rd. You can't lay down when the baby lays down. Matthew only had a week off, so that's a challenge. And the 2 of them, of course, they're 5 and 3. They're going to get at each other. They're going to argue, but that's nothing that wouldn't have been happening whether or not we had a baby. That was happening anyway. So that's just sort of the phase we're in with the 2 of them. I found it hard the first little while with the sort of lack of routine. I'm somebody that likes predictability, and that's me. That's not the children. So the first few months when you really don't know when they're going to nap, when they're going to eat, I found that a little bit challenging, because it's hard to plan things and hard to schedule things and get out when you don't have any type of routine. But now that Lydia, she's 4 months, and now that she's sort of fallen into a pretty good routine, I find it challenging as well, because, and I was talking about this actually in the YouTube Mommy Meetup Hangout earlier in the week, and asking 2 of the girls in that one has 3 and one has 4 children. So just asking them sort of how you balance that, because I find that right now is a big struggle for me, is that I like to go out, I like to take the big kids to the park or go to play dates, but Lydia is in a really good schedule with napping and stuff, so I don't like to screw that up too much. So it's really just trying to find that balance between the baby's need to be home and have a good routine and a good schedule, and the older kids and my need to get out and do things. So we're just trying to navigate that and figure out all of that. And luckily she's a pretty easygoing baby, and I know if I take her out at nap time one day, it's probably not going to affect her after that one nap. Like yesterday or on Friday, it was Noah's year-end preschool party, and it was right at 2 o'clock, and that's when she normally naps. So she slept in the way there, and then she slept after she was awake there. And then when we left, she fell asleep in the car. So we just went to the mall and walked around for a bit, and she slept. So totally maybe 45 minutes, like in 2 different chunks, and she was fine that night, no problems. So that's good. I know we can't let her nap schedule dictate everything, but like they were saying on the hangout, it is a short time. It's really only that first year where they have the 2 naps, and then they get down to 1, and then it's a lot easier to get out and do things. And Alexandria will still nap in the afternoon. We often will just skip it because when Noah's up, it's might as well have her up too, because she helps entertain him. So that's sort of been an adjustment. Another one is the time it takes to get ready to go anywhere. And actually, that is better now. The first, when I made some of these notes, I was just making them as we were going along. It was challenging the first probably month or so, 2 months, until she sort of got into more of a feeding schedule, and we switched from breastfeeding to bottle feeding, which actually helped for us, and that's a whole other story, and I'll put that video below. Once we knew sort of when she would eat, that made it a lot easier, because before it's like, oh, I gotta go out, I better nurse her, I better feed her before we go, and trying to get all of that sorted out. But now I find I'm actually up and ready to go most days earlier than I was before the baby. And we go to a weekly, or we were going to a weekly play group, and I'd usually get there 10:30, and now I'm getting there at like 9:30, 10, because before the big kids would get up, they'd play around, they'd watch some cartoons, I'd take my time, and you could do that when you have older kids. But with the baby, it's like she's up, she eats, and then she's not just going to hang out. So I get up too and get ready, and it's actually kind of nice. We're up and ready to go a lot earlier in the morning. So that's actually ended up being an easier thing in the end. So those are just some of the things that I found a bit of a challenge, and things that I found that have gone really smoothly, or that have helped my transition, is that the older kids play well together, like I was saying. I'm very good, like I'm an organizer, I'm a planner, I'm good at that and I enjoy that, so I tend to get as much done as I can the night before as possible, and especially if we have to be out somewhere in the morning. If we are going somewhere, I will take out the kids' clothes the night before, everything from, you know, laying out the outfit, diaper, everything. I will get anything I can put in the car the night before, I will. So if I have to bring anything with me, you know, sunscreen, jackets, anything like that, I will get that done the night before. I make all the bottles the night before. So then in the morning, it's really just, if you really have to be out, I will even take out breakfast dishes and get them ready, get the toaster on the counter, and just get everything ready. And then that way it's really smooth in the morning. So trying to get everything I can done the night before. I make list after list. I'm a list maker. That really helps, so that if I have, like, say, for instance, when Lydia was baptized, you know, there's a lot to remember. So I started making a list as soon as I had the date. Whenever I thought of anything, I'd write it down. So that way when things actually come up, it's easy. I just go on my phone and know exactly what I need to do. And the biggest thing I think that has helped the transition for me is that I'm a lot more relaxed, and I know Matthew's a lot more relaxed, and we're just a lot more easygoing when it comes to the baby, and not panicking at every little moment like you do when it's your first, because you just don't know when it's your first baby. And I think that's only something that comes with experience. And, you know, it really, one of my biggest pet peeves is when people will tell a new mom, when a new mom is saying, oh my God, the baby won't sleep. And then the other person says, oh, just wait until they're teething, or just wait until. I hate that. I think that is the most patronizing and rude thing you can say to a new mom, or to any mom. And it just feels like people want everyone to be miserable, instead of saying, you know what, that is really hard. If they want to know what's coming down the road, you can tell them, but don't belittle their concerns by telling them how much harder it could be, because when you're in that moment, like Matthew often says, oh my God, we thought it was so hard with one, but like people have no idea. And I said, yeah, that may be true, but when you only have one, that's all you know. And that is really, really hard. It's crazy busy with three, but you have so much experience under your belt that the baby is the easy part. And you've been through it twice, you've sort of seen it all, and you know what to expect. And we're really lucky that all of our babies have been really good. And Lydia is an incredible baby. She's so happy and so easygoing, and that's really, really nice. So, but again, I don't know how much of that is her and how much of that is us. So it's hard to know. So that's sort of my experience going from 2 to 3. If there's anyone out there who's sort of on the fence, I say go for it. It's been great for us. We love having 3 kids. I think they're going to be just such wonderful friends. And when I see the older 2 play together, I just can't wait until Lydia's big enough to sort of toddle around with them. And she's just developing such a little personality already at 4 months. And she's just so funny. And, we're really, really happy with how things have gone. So that's sort of our experience. If you have any experiences to share or any questions, you can put them below. Or if you guys have done a video on this topic, I'd love to see it. And thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. And I did this in one take. That's awesome. That means I'll actually get it uploaded, because I have videos sitting on my phone to edit and put up, and it's just, that's one thing that's hard when you have 3. It's harder to get things like this done. To come on here and record for 16 minutes is no small miracle. Lydia's sleeping, and the other 2 are watching Despicable Me right now, so that is good. But it's a beautiful day, so we're going to get outside and enjoy this beautiful Sunday. So thanks for watching.